Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Lost Love Stories, where we share the beautiful, messy, raw journeys of love and loss. I'm Pam Baker, your host, and really excited for our guest today. Rae Ann is joining us to talk about her son Max, and it's a challenging story today. They're all challenging because it's about people dying and leaving us and leaving that gaping hole in our hearts. This one is especially challenging for me, for her, for everybody, because it's such a I just used the word ridiculous, but she used the word senseless, and I think senseless is a really, really can't say it any better than that, but lost her son Max to a hazing accident. I don't know how you refer to it. We'll have you, but welcome, Rae Ann. Welcome
Hey,
to the show.
thanks for having me, Pam. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. I'm so glad you're joining us. So, yeah, we won't get into that whole part first. I really want to have everybody get to know Max first and know you. Tell us about your family and then just tell us about Max. Like, who is he? How was he when he was a baby? And all the really amazing things about Max. Just
All the good stuff.
have to get to yeah.
Max is our oldest. I'm married to Steve. We've been married almost 30 years, and we've been in Roswell, Georgia for most of that. We met here in Atlanta, and then moved, up to the suburbs and just start the family and all that. And got pregnant with Max in 1999 or 98, and just I mean, loved him, was so excited to be a mom. He I mean, just I mean, he came out, we were madly in love. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
a great baby. I was a NICU nurse, so I don't know if that also helps with my babies because you know, I always found the babies to be easy, right? It was when they were toddlers. I was like, "Oh, no, send them back."
What do I do?
But, he was a really good baby, really happy and just easygoing, and that's just kinda how he was anyway. He just even as he kept, getting older and, he just was a pretty laid back kid, a little goofy, a little ADD, but just a nice young man, nice boy. He was a nice boy. He loved his little brother. Alex came 2 years later, and then Lily was about 5 years later, and, just loved his brother and his sister and, was always there. I always say it, always their biggest cheerleaders and, all their sports and their activities. And, his younger brother was probably you would say more of the athlete than Max was. Max was a good athlete and played all the stuff, but Alex was really good. And, you would sometimes, right, you worry that like, oh, is this going to bother Max because he's the older one and Alex is
Uh,
doing all these things. And Max was just proud of him. I
mhm.
never saw him be jealous or anything like that. He just was, like, proud of Alex for doing everything Alex could do and, sitting out there and throwing balls and hitting balls or throwing footballs or whatever to make each one of them better, but, to help his brother keep going. So, that's just kind of the person Max was. He never he never wanted anyone to feel left out in a group and stuff like that. He was that kid that, like, he would notice somebody in the room that maybe wasn't talking or getting involved, and he would kinda bring them into the conversation or what was going on. And he was just, again, your average boy playing like we were just talking about video games and hollering down in the basement with Alex playing whatever they were playing or having all their friends over and, doing all that stuff. So, just again, really, really nice kid. Just, really kind of a pleasure to be around. He could talk to any adult. Like that always amazed me too. Like where a lot of kids and young kids and boys, like they have that hard time really talking to adults when they're around, but that was not Max. Like he would walk in and just start talking to you. And Steve always said he loved when Max was around. And if the dads were all talking about sports, he's like, oh, I could just pull Max into the conversation because Max knew everything about sports on all
Really?
the statistics and the
Oh god.
players and
Yeah.
he's like, or what game just happened or whatever. And Steve's like, I can just pull Max in and let Max do all the talking. And I look like I know everything. So he did have a big
Nice.
passion for that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he was a sports writer in high school. He wrote, for Deaf Pen Radio out of New York. Like 360 articles he wrote during that time he was with them. Mostly, if you ever Google him, Google Max Groove or Deaf Pen, and all of his articles will show up. And he did all of it. It was really, I mean, I was amazed. I was like, oh my gosh, who knew? Like, and just what he wrote a lot about basketball, but really he would do any of the sports. So, he had a lot
Cool.
of things he was doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, he was the same age as Gavin because Gavin was 99, but maybe they were a grade different. I can't remember. But yeah, I just remember that too. I didn't know him well, but I did always know that he had that great reputation and that joyful smile and just the kind exuded the kindness that was just there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So awesome. It's gonna make you so proud when you're the mom and you hear good things from grown-ups that are like, "He's the nicest kid. Oh, he's just had such a great attitude," and oh god, I'm it's
Yeah,
like proud.
yeah, like, over the like, even, like, right after he passed away and, like, he had when he was in high school, he coached, a little league team with some other dads of, like, younger boys, and then he also coached his little sister's basketball team, and hearing, like, 'cause, like, especially the little league team, like, I didn't obviously, my kids weren't on that team and stuff like that, so I didn't really know a lot of the parents or anything like that. But so many of them reached out, just to say how much they loved having Max be a mentor to their sons and how much
Oh,
Max
wow.
had meant to their young sons and he was a joy to have as a coach and how he had so much patience and then just hearing that and all of them showing up like his baseball team showing up at his funeral and things like you're like wow this kid really impacted what I mean more than we'll ever know, right? I
We'll
mean,
never know, I was just gonna say that. You will never be able to ever get a good, measurement of the impact that he made in his very short time here. You'll never be able to know that, but you know that it was big.
yeah.
It's one of those things like, don't you just wish you could figure out how to measure it and be like, "Oh," it's such a cool thing, but just knowing that all of those kids, um, will have a piece of him, excuse me, forever too, because because being being young and being their age as little kids too, just the circumstance, that
Yes.
alone
Yeah.
will impact them. So okay, so he's in high school, he's doing great, he's all excited, he's looking at colleges.
Yep.
And so we know where he went. Did he have any other thoughts about where he wanted to go?
Yes, we're a big Clemson family, that's where I went. So, of course, my hat was in the ring for Clemson, and, but he applied around us, different schools, like University of South Carolina, Clemson, LSU, obviously. Actually, LSU, it was funny, he wasn't even going to apply there. It was kind of a weird like, we have very dear friends of ours are from Louisiana and huge LSU fans, and Max is really close to the family and was kind of like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and apply to LSU. The Delons love LSU. They talk about him all the time. Like, he's just like, oh, I'll just apply. Like, okay, like Louisiana, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but he applied, and honestly, it was like he heard right away back from them. Um, so that got him excited, right? It's the first one. You're going to college.
Yeah.
Like okay, I gotta go somewhere.
Yay. Yeah.
And Steve had taken him, like, in that, like, October, November, LSU had this, like, if you've been accepted but aren't sure if you're gonna go or not kind of weekend, so you can come see the school, and so Steve took Max, and let me tell you, like, he came home from that, and I knew exactly where my son was gonna
Really?
go. He just fell in love with LSU, he fell in love with Baton Rouge, he fell in love with the food, dear lord, he fell in love with the food. He just loved it. He just was
Had he
very
ever been
excited.
to Louisiana before, or was this his first, like,
First
first
time, I mean, it was crazy, like, so and I it's like in the back of my head, I just knew. And then, but he's still getting his acceptances. The last one he heard from was Clemson, and he had gotten put in Clemson's bridge program. So, like, where you start off at, the community and then move in. I was all for it. But he was
Yeah.
like, pretty much, he had his Clemson T-shirt on, going down to the mailbox, and walked back up, and just took off that and had on his LSU shirt. So he was it's, what he wanted to do. So, yeah, so we landed up that summer, we went for like orientation and the LSU used to do this big like 4 or 5 day long, it's called Stripes, where freshmen go like for that 4 or 5 days and like get submersed in LSU culture and you live in the dorms and you learn the fight songs and you see the stadium and you learn the campus and he came home from that and I mean he was counting the days until he was going to
God,
school. He
really?
was
And
really
that's
excited.
summer after graduation they do that?
Summer
They did
after graduation, yeah. So he was
drank
excited.
the Kool-Aid.
He
Drank the Kool-Aid.
drank oh, yes, he drank the Kool-Aid, like, yeah, like the live gold, whatever their saying is, like, he was it. He was all of it. Yes, 100%. Yeah,
Did
so
he know
very
going in
excited.
gonna be did he wanna do sports writing? What did he wanna study?
He was gonna do communications. He was still thinking about sports writing, but he was also looking at, like, uh, political communications and stuff, like, he had a lot of things, right? You're a freshman, so, he had even talked a little bit about LSU has a law degree there that's like, a 3 and 2, I can't remember what it is now, where you do, you know, the undergrad and then go straight into law school, and I think it's a total of 5 years, and so he kinda looked at that a little bit. So he didn't know, right? You've got your
You
world
never
is
know,
your oyster,
right?
so
You don't even know what your
he
options
had a
are.
lot of opportunities, and he knew it, and he was like, "This is great, like, I can kind of figure out what I really wanna do." I'm 18 years old, I don't exactly know what I wanna do, but, he loved the writing and stuff like that, so I'm sure that would have kept going at that point,
Wherever he
so
landed would
yeah,
include.
yeah.
Did he know anyone going or just the people he met during that little bridge time in the summer? Was he going with any friends or anything?
He was not going with any friends, there I think a
That's what he
couple
said
kids that
too.
he knew, yeah, there was a couple kids he knew from here, but not, like, close friends or anything. Um, he met a lot of kids, you know after he got accepted, like, through some group me's and stuff like that, like the and LSU kids that got accepted and things like that, and, so he started talking to people and then obviously went to these orientations and stripes and things like that and met, a lot of kids there and kept talking to them. Like, I remember being at orientation and I call his friend Avery, his first friend from LSU, because they met at orientation and they became really good friends and they lived in the same dorm and she was a communication major too and it was like cute like oh that's your like Max's first LSU friend
Right. Yeah.
and we're still friends with Avery, she's wonderful, but it was things like that. He just again he Max was easy to talk to and could get to know people pretty quickly because he was not shy, he didn't need to be the center of attention but or anything like that, but he just liked to talk to people and find out about them and things like that. So he knew a lot
That's
of
a
people really quickly, all over the campus. So
yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, exciting times, as it always is, when they're ready to launch, and then you send them off, and then
yeah. Well, yeah, we took him. He had kind of gone back and forth over the summer about whether or not he was even gonna try to pledge a fraternity or join a fraternity at all. He wasn't like gung ho exactly on it. Like he was like, maybe, I don't know, like Max wasn't a big club kind of guy. You know what I mean? So I think he just didn't really know enough about it either way. And I just said, you know what? At the end of the day, um, if you start doing it and you don't like it, just drop out. Who cares? Like, a lot of people do that. They do start it and then they're like, forget it. And I know some fraternities had reached out to him over the summer, like for like summer activities they were doing in the Atlanta area. So I think that got him a little excited, like, oh, like, I'm finding out about more things. And anyway, gets there, we drop him off, great drop off. And, they basically started rush pretty quickly after that. And he decided to do it and he really liked it. I mean, he was very, very excited. He had about 4 or 5 different fraternities that he was interested in and they were interested in him. And he was really excited. He would tell us all about it and the guys he was meeting and even the fraternities. He's like, oh, these are really great guys, but I can tell that's not the group I wanna be with, like, fine, like, that's good, right? And then, as he was narrowing it down, he landed up he I really was talking about Phi Delta a lot at the end, and it was a smaller fraternity on campus, and I think he liked that, where like, he was, like, looking at Sigma Chi and Kappa Sig or, whatever they were, but, these huge, enormous houses and really big chapters, and I think for him, he always kinda liked that smaller sort of environment a little bit, so I think being on this really big campus at LSU, having that smaller group of guys to hang out with, I think he liked that, and
Yeah, especially if you felt like they were more like his people too.
yeah, and they talked to him a lot about, joining the fraternity and then, like, going on to have, like, leadership roles in the fraternity, and he liked that, and I was amazed with because 'cause I'm like, it's never like he was somebody on student council or, wanting to run for something, so I was like, "Wow, good for him," but I had really felt to that summer, to me, Max had really blossomed, like, that's end of senior year, he was, to me, always a late bloomer anyway. So, to me, I was like, "Wow," like, I could really see the actual young man he was really becoming, and he had, definitely matured, and to me, I honestly feel this. It was I said this to him. I said, "I mean, this, like, go spread your wings. This is totally your time. Like, I can see you now. This is some people peak, like, in high school, and that's their place. Like, this was gonna be Max's. Like, do you know
Mhm.
what he was finally gonna
That's
just
true.
really, I think, be really comfortable in his own skin and just really take off and do a lot of things. He knew who he was as a person, and this was that time for him, and, I really think he started to do that, but, anyway, joined the fraternity. Um, we didn't find out a lot of information about what was the hazing that had been going on, until after Max had passed away, um, but he didn't say anything to us about any hazing, but from what it sounds like to us, um it sounds like he was avoiding a lot of the hazing activities that were going on because there was a whole thing about that, he was late to everything and this and that. And I laughed. Well, not laughed at the time, but I'm like, oh well, clearly that shows how much you didn't know my son because he's late to everything.
That's who he is.
Like, if somebody coulda helped, yeah, that's exactly who he is, like, the kid could barely get to school on time, barely get to a practice on time, barely get to work on time, like, so, that's Max, he totally beats to his own drum, like, "When I get there," like,
My God.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And, but I feel like some of the things and I think some of his friends had said it too, that I think he had avoided some other things that have been going on as much as he could, probably because he was like, "I don't wanna do this stuff," and then I think he sort of felt a little like he really had to be at this one that happened on September 13th. That's kind of what I got. Again, this is all hindsight and hearsay and what you are putting together after the fact.
To get
Um but we do know that there was some hazing that had gone on with some other brothers, what they always like to call, like, little hazing, like, the start of it, like, he had to wear, like, um stupid, you wouldn't even think of it as hazing, but, like, khaki shorts and a polo shirt, and he had had me go up to that Goodwill in Roswell, that really good one on Highway 9, and he picked me
I'm
up a
familiar.
khaki shorts and polo shirts because I have to wear that every day during this new member period, and I didn't think anything about it, right? Like, that I was like I just thought they wanted him to look nice, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Andy doesn't wanna do laundry, so, I was like, "Sure, I'll go get this stuff," but those kind of things can be, like, the start of hazing, like, having to wear certain things, like
The
and usually
control
a little
the
more
con
extreme, you have to wear, like, acid wash jeans and a white shirt and old man tennis shoes, or you have to carry a certain, like, hot pink backpack, or you have to have, like, cigarettes or vapes on you at all time, like, it's smaller things that start to
Yeah.
get bigger and bigger. So anyway, so the night that Max, had been called to, him and his other pledge brothers, had gotten a text during the day, and, it had said, "Be at the house tonight at 10 o'clock for something that the brothers were calling Bible study." And They were said, "Don't be late." Um, get there when they got there, um, their phones had been taken from them. I don't know. Do you want me to go all into my story now?
Want you to tell
Kinda
any
rolling with it.
yeah, anything you wanted to I don't know anything about Greek life. I literally know nothing, so I don't even know, like, how long the period lasts, like, how long rush I don't know anything. So this is go into
Yeah.
everything because I'm sure there's other people like me, like, we don't know. We
Yeah.
don't know what it's
Well, like,
like.
rush is usually around a week or so, and you visit different houses and, different sororities or fraternities, and basically you're trying to narrow it down through a system. Like, there is some system to it with who gets a bid back and all these kind of things, and eventually you narrow it down by the end to where you land up like, "I want you, you want me, it all match. Now I'm gonna come and be a new member, a pledge or whatever to this sorority or fraternity." New member periods can last, they range a little bit, but the average I would say is around 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay, so
And
he's in
during
the period now during this whole because he's committed to this one?
he has taken a bid from them and he's saying, "Yes, I'm gonna commit now to learning about the fraternity and all these things during the new member period." So then at the end of the new member period, you get initiated into the
Okay.
fraternity and then you are a brother, is
I can
kind of
okay,
basically
okay.
how it works.
Yeah.
So during that new member period, what you're supposed to be doing is getting to know the other brothers, doing things with your fellow new member class, learning about the fraternity history and the Greek life on your campus and all these things. You're having study hours. They're supposed to kind of mentoring you, helping you adjust to, going off to college, being away from home for the first time. All these nice, great things that should
Building the
be happening,
community within the
building your
community.
community, and again, making someone feel at home and protected and safe in these things. Well, what happens with the hazing is, you know, many want to call it a tradition of their organization, which it is not, because no organization was founded on hazing, which is basically the abuse, the humiliation, ridiculing another person and making them feel that they have to do whatever you're telling them to do, because if they don't do it, they're either gonna get it worse the next
Yeah.
event that happens, or they could be blackballed or thrown right out of the fraternity or the
Which
sorority or
is, I
whatever.
imagine, huge, huge, um, fear
Sure.
and a big thing to hold over a brand new kid to campus. That's you can see how that would be a lot of pressure to not be blackballed. Like,
Yeah, do what they're
refresh
telling
me
you
on
to
it.
do.
Yeah, I can't there's gotta be so much pressure that's associated with that.
100%, and and 2, you don't really know anybody on campus and you're just trying to fit in and get to know people, and then you have all this thrown on you and pressured into doing things that you normally, I'm sure, would not do, but you feel you have to do some of these things. I mean, and it can, I know way too many stories now. Since Max, like, I mean, honestly, I had no idea. I was Greek too, and in college, I was an 80 Pi. We did not haze. Like, I can't even imagine hazing. Um, my little sister coming into the sorority, and all, it's just, I just can't even imagine it. So anyway, they were called, again, like I said, for this, they were calling it Bible study, which is basically, they were going to be asked questions about what they are calling their fraternity Bible, basically. So it's like fraternity history, who the founders are, where they came from, whatever, their quotes, their whatever. And then things about the Greek alphabet and stuff like that. So, um, but to start this whole process, they basically, their phones got taken away from them. They lined them up in a single file line. They marched them up the stairs to the second story. They were throwing condiments on them, mustard, hot sauce, ketchup, all that kind of stuff as they were going up the stairs. When they got up there, it's just a long hallway and they had all the lights off, all the doors closed. They had strobe lights going and like really loud blaring music. So it's totally disorienting and distracting. And I'm sure I'm sure you're like the anxiety level, and
Yeah.
what are they going to do? Cause this was the first one they had, done this lineup with them. So I'm sure you're a nervous wreck what's about to happen. And they did make them do a bunch of stuff like calisthenics and things and wall sits, where the brothers, jumped on their legs or walked on their legs and, kind of stuff. And there's a lot of stories of things that went on. But what the big thing of the night was this Bible study. So they turned them around and they had them put their noses and their toes like up against the wall. So they're
Okay.
all lined up with their backs to the middle. And the brothers are, up and down the hallway and they're getting in their faces and screaming at them and making you answer questions about that fraternity history and stuff. And if you got a question wrong, then you would have to take a pull off of a diesel bottle, which is 190 proof grain alcohol. And you're swigging off these bottles and the brothers are screaming at you, drink, 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 and you have to keep drinking from that bottle until you're told to stop. And
My God.
yeah, and it was said like at Max's trial that like, some of these kids including Max had to drink, up to 10 seconds or more from those diesel bottles.
Wow.
um and it just again goes on, all this music, all this chaos. um Brothers, forcing you to drink and, um, Max, they even like the whole thing lasted about an hour and a half or so from start to finish. By midnight, it was done. And, there was one point where Max they had tied a trash bag around his neck, a puke bag, because that's how, I mean, wasted he obviously was. And even
God.
at that time, the brothers still wanted the guys to do more stuff. And they were supposed to recite the Greek alphabet. And each one of them had to say a letter of the Greek alphabet, like as they went down the hallway, down the line. And if a person messed up, you know, the alphabet, then they all had to like, he had to take a pull, another pull off that liquor bottle, and then they would all have to start back over. So, Max, every time they got to Max, he would mess up. He only had to remember Oopsilon, like, that's where he was in the lineup. So he knew at that point what he was supposed to but couldn't remember it, and they still had him take 5 to 6 more pulls off of these bottles after about the other 20 he had already taken earlier.
They
So
already had the trash bag, and they
trash
know.
bag,
Oh my.
I'm sure a hot mess, and, still making them do that. And then after that, they had taken him downstairs. They were gonna have him sleep it off down on the couch instead of taking him home. The other pledges they had kind of taken home. Some of them were puking, some of them went home and puked, lots of things. But Max, they left on the couch and they said they were gonna watch him during the night and make sure he was okay. But even with, I mean, the most obvious signs of, distress, they didn't help him. They didn't call 911. They saw him, he had labored breathing, the cold, clammy skin. They said his lips, his fingers were turning blue. He had the weak pulse. They were checking all these things. They were even taking pictures on their phones and sending Snapchats of Max, to other active brothers and stuff, like how bad he looked. And also, in the meantime, they were going around the fraternity house and they were cleaning up all the puke and the condiments and all that it was all over and the liquor bottles and stuff. And they even said that they had cleaned a lot of Max up because, like, I know in the morning when like police and the DA and stuff got there, they were like, "Well, this is really odd," because
Mhm.
there was an empty puke trash can there, and like Max again was all cleaned up, even though clearly he had.
Wow.
And So they did all that because again, they were worried they were gonna get in trouble or, whatever, something was gonna happen in the fraternity. And then in that morning, they texted all of Max's pledge brothers and told them to come back over to the fraternity house. And when the guys got there, the actives told them like to lie. They told them to lie about where they found Max and how they found Max. And because like, when I first got the phone call from the hospital, they had told me that some of Max's friends had been concerned about him, had gone to his dorm room and found him passed out, on in the dorm room. And then they had carried him out and taken him to the hospital. And I knew immediately, I go, that's a lie. Like that's wrong because I knew Max's dorm. He lived like on the 3rd floor in the center of campus, and you'd have to go down an elevator to a desk, which is right there, and then out to the center of campus to put him in a car to take him anywhere. And nobody called 911 or stopped
No,
them or did something.
that
Like,
yeah,
there's no way. I mean, he's over 6 feet tall and probably like 220 at that time. So like you don't just not notice this.
you're not just like, "Do, do, 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 got this little person here." Oh my
No,
god.
no. And so yeah, so what they did is they had Max's pledge brothers, then they had him pick up, Max's dead body, take it out of the fraternity house. They put it in a guy's truck and they drove him to the hospital. And the pledges at first that took him there did tell the story, but then immediately they were just like they were like this is our friend. Like, I think as the shocks were coming down, like, you're like, I can't, we've got to tell the truth kind of thing, thank God. So they at least
God.
did that. But Max, by the time he got there, I mean, he was already dead. He had died on that couch at like 4 or 5, according to the autopsy. So he was, yeah. Yeah. And then they did do his like blood alcohol, obviously, right when he got to the hospital. And he didn't even register on um the BAC monitor, like, and that caps out at point 0.5. And
Oh
they
my
finally on it, yeah, on his autopsy, they took fluid from his eye, and that's where they could finally get a report, which was that it was 0.495. So he was 6 times the legal limit that somebody's impaired, which, would be a DUI, which is a point zero 0.08. I mean, 0.31 is already considered life threatening right there. So, I mean, to be
assembly.
0.495, that's insane.
Oh my god, that's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. To have to consume like that amount, in like that short period of time, this
Such a short
190 proof, yeah, grain alcohol. It's
I don't
you just can't. It's so you
I
just
can't like, I
wrap
can't
your
even
head around it. It just doesn't make any sense. And again, why you would do this? You
why? That's I can't stop thinking about that, like, I'm flashing through all the movies that are ever have hazing incidences in them, all of whether they're the, boarding schools or,
Mhm.
college or and, there's a million movies about that, and I can totally picture the strobe lights, I can picture the yelling, I'm picturing them walking across him and them, and all I can think of is why? Like, why? How did that even come to be a thing? I don't understand. I
No,
don't understand any of it.
no, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, and like some people will say, like, oh, it's you're tearing them down to build them back up, or, and all this. And I'm like, they're not going to war. They're
They're not
going
in
to college to,
That's
yes,
right.
drink beer and have fun, but to get a degree. Like, this is just a fraternity. Like, again, they're not saving our country from anything, like, this is, it doesn't make sense. But again, they want to call it traditions. It's not. Honestly, I call it glorified bullying. I think you've given probably a lot of kids that were really bullies younger. You're giving them a platform now, and you're calling it hazing. So they're like, "Oh, I'm not bullying him because I want him to be in my fraternity or my sorority."
I'm
Um,
supposed
and
to do this.
I'm just doing what was done to me, and it's okay for me to treat this person so terribly because they have to go through this so that they can become part of the organization. It's very warped. It's very, very warped, and
No
it
question.
is abuse. It's that cycle. I say it all the time. It's that cycle of abuse where the abused later becomes the abuser. So, I mean, that's exactly what it is.
It is, it's like it fully feels like you're being trained to be that way. And
Yes.
can you ever imagine, ever in a million years, Max ever being on the other side of that and doing that to anybody else?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I
I don't I like I don't know. I can't
exactly. It's like,
really wrap my brain
and
around.
unfortunately, I usually, when I think, because I have thought about this, like, too, like, with Max, I've ever turned into then like a hazer. And, um, I don't not like these guys at all. Like, what I always picture him being is maybe being at the hazing event and being the
Mhm.
guy that's, like, playing the music. because Max was very into music. Like, so not really being a part, which is just as bad. I mean, you're a bystander. I do think Max definitely would have been the guy that would have stepped in somewhere, or he thought something was getting out of control. He would have said something loudly because Max wasn't one to back off when he thought something was not right.
Right.
So I do think that, because I do think he would have been caught up too with like, okay, this is going on, and thinking, oh, everything's going to be okay. But he would have stepped in for sure.
Yeah. And at least been aware enough to know that
At
someone
least,
on
yes,
the couch probably needs
yes.
more
Oh, and
attention.
I think that, no, I
Yeah.
think he would have, I think he would have been much better in that situation too. And, um, yes, because it's, yeah,
Oh
and
my
not
god.
just so flippant. Like, I think a lot of these young men were very flippant with my son's life, and they, you know, and did get more worried about getting in trouble themselves. And again, and I say it to these kids all the time, call, please just call 911, no matter what situation, not even hazing. Like, you're going to go out to college in high school.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to drink too much. It happened to my son, Alex, a friend of
Mhm.
his at prom. They were at an after prom party. He was a junior, and a guy drank 4 of those 4 Locos. They're, like, really high octane. Someone told me they're like, it's like almost like a bottle of wine of alcohol per can. It's, like,
Wow.
so high octane. Ask your boys, maybe they know, like,
Yeah,
exactly.
sure.
Yeah.
I just heard,
Uh, but and he did it to himself, like,
yeah.
he drank them really fast, like, I think they're easy to drink, they said, but again, you don't know how anything's gonna affect you yourself, much less if you're forcing somebody to do it. Um, you don't know what medication somebody's on, what kind of medical history they have, or what they've eaten that day, whatever. Well, this young man drank them, and then Alex and another friend of his were leaving the after party, and the guy had said, "Hey, like, can I go ahead and go with you guys? Like, I'm done here too." And they were like, "Yeah, sure." Like, they were just, going back home. And by the time they got home, they went to get the guy out of the back of the car, and he was completely unconscious, and, they could not get him awake. Um, and Alex just immediately drove him to the hospital. And I was like, "Why didn't you just call 911?" He goes, "Because it was way faster." Because literally where the hospital was, they were around the corner. But, he was in the car, I just drove him. We were right there, in a couple minutes. And and he said, he goes, the police were there, they asked them what happened, what we knew about the situation. Um, and technically the boys, they could have been in trouble. Alex wasn't drinking, but the other friend had been drinking, and they weren't 18 yet. So it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. They're not supposed to be driving, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
And nothing. They were being agreeable. They told these guys what happened. They were doing the right thing for this friend, and, they got him help. And, so, I mean, they were free to go after that. And that's
Ugh.
that whole medical amnesty. These kids need to understand you're doing something to protect somebody else's life, no matter what has gone on all night. Like, this is this is the most important thing, is that you got this kid help. And that young man ended up having like a point, I think it was like a 0.35 was his blood alcohol. So 100%, if the boys had let him sleep it off,
Mhm.
there's a very good chance that young man could have not woken up just like Max. So,
Wow.
it's just call 911, right? No parent. I would rather be taking somebody to a steak dinner because you called 911 and saved Max's life than be sitting where I'm sitting right now 8 years later without my son. So,
Yeah.
I can't preach that enough, like, calling
Yeah.
911 in any of these situations. Don't, no organization is more worth another person's life. Like, get people the help they need. I mean, I hear stories too. People will tell me they think of Max like they could be walking back to their dorm and they see someone like passed out outside the dorm and not respond, and they just like, I gotta call 911. And that's
Yeah.
what we want, is like,
Whereas before
think
it'd be like,
about that.
"Oh, look at that drunk kid," you know?
Yes, don't ignore that drunk kid. Get
Right.
that drunk kid some help. Don't leave them out there, like, or whatever. So, or step in if you see somebody's kind of forcing somebody else to drink too much, or any of these things. Just kind of, it's be that person, right? Be that person that didn't stand up enough for Max or didn't step in and didn't call 911. Like, be that person because, and I mean, I feel bad, like, a lot of people that were at that event that night that weren't doing the hazing. I mean, they do have to live with that the rest of their lives, that they were there and didn't do enough. They didn't
Mhm.
Max, they
Right.
didn't protect him. So, I'm sure that's a lot for, anyone to carry, you know, in their
Mhm.
life too. So,
From a very young age, it's
yeah, it's
life
hard.
changing. It's life
Yeah.
changing, but changed Max's life in the most horrific, tragic way. I would say too, and not that this is any consolation, but those instances are more, um, I don't want to compare it to like the little league team, the impact that Max made on their lives, but his life is still impacting people because of how he died, because of his story. Those people that aren't just walking by laughing at the drunk guy anymore, like he's still making a difference in people's lives, from
Mm.
afar or from right
No,
here.
I agree with I mean, I 100% agree with you, Pam. I think one of the reasons we have Max's foundation and we travel the country talking to colleges and high schools and even middle schools, like, and sharing in Max's story and allowing people into our lives like this is so that, like, you can make a better decision about something and that you will think about Max and be like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, I need to be that person. And we do, like, people will say, like, "You'll never know how many, lives you have saved," and I don't need to know that, but when I get that one message or that one email or the one text or the one person that comes up to me and says, "This is what I did, and it was because I heard Max's story," I'm like, That's all that's all I want. That's all I need
Yeah.
to hear. If one person walks out of an auditorium that I've spoken to
Mhm.
and goes back and does the right thing in one of these situations or steps in or refuses to allow the haze or whatever it might be, if one person changes their mind about something, then right, I've won something. Like that has made no, it's never going to be worth it, but it's made worth what we're doing post Max's death.
Right, and I
Worth
wanna
it.
get to that, but I do wanna say, because I think it's really important, so many people have lost someone in terrible ways, and I just think what you've done, it takes I'm gonna cry, but it takes such strength and grace and resilience, and, I don't know, it's like this inner, um, almost like an inner wisdom, I wanna call it, where you're taking your circumstance and using it to change lives, because so many people, obviously, especially losing a child, it's so easy to just get hole up in your house and never come out again, you know?
Mhm.
And I just know feeling like that just on with John, losing my husband, but losing a child, especially in such a insane way that you could be I'm sure there's times when you're filled with anger and filled with all of those negative things, but you've taken this horribly tragic situation and really been a change maker and a difference maker and a lifesaver out in the broad big world, and you're impressive to me, and I really that's really why I wanted you to come on here and share your story, because it's truly impressive to have the strength to do that and the grace to do that and the willpower to do that. And I wanna get into that stuff, your advocacy work, the foundation, the fly high, thing, the purple bands, all the things that you guys have done. Just awareness has been so, so impressive, and, I wanna make sure everybody knows about that. So, we're I don't know, you had to go through a trial, which had to be horrible,
Oh,
and
yes.
then just having to live through it over and over and over again, and just I'm sure, I mean, I just know that different circumstances of people who have lost someone and then had to go to trial because of it. It's just like it just extends the grieving period, it extends the pain, it extends the not the closure, but all of the things, right? And then, so you had to go through that, and then at what point did you say, "This is fucked up and I'm gonna make a change. I'm gonna do something about it." He like, when did you say like, "This I'm not I'm not taking this lying down." Not that you can change the outcome, but you can change other people's outcome. Like, where did you get that from?
So we got it. It was like immediate. And I almost think, and I'm actually this first time I've ever said this, but it's like I just said to you before, like when that nurse had called me and told me about, and I was like, well, that's a lie. That is
Uh-huh.
a fucking lie right there. Something
Yeah,
happened to my kid.
yeah,
Like I knew right away it was foul play, whatever you want to call it. Something was wrong.
yeah.
But then, like, after we had, gone to Baton Rouge, to get Max and do all that, and we were back home, I mean, you're just in shock, and I remember I was trying to find, and this I talked about, but I was trying to find Max had, like, this it was like a small journal, and it was from, like, middle school, but it was, like, from his religion class, and every day, I guess they basically had to go in, and they must have done, like, something with the Bible, and then you would do, like, your reflections on it in your life, and I remember, like, at the end of the school year, it was 7th or 8th grade, going through the kids' stuff, and I remember seeing it, and, I kinda looked at it, and then I was like, "Well, it's personal, I don't wanna look at his" like, look at his things, and, I was like, "But you know what? I'm gonna put it up on this shelf because I'm sure he's gonna want this someday, and or it'll be fun for him to look at later." Well, I that's what I was thinking about. I just that book from 5 or 6 years before that came to me, and I could have sworn I had it in my kitchen cabinet, could
Uh-huh.
not find it, and I'm, like, tearing up the house, like, I'm in, all over the kitchen. It's I'm sure I was crazed anyway, but right at that time. And I'm in his closet and I'm going through like his, books and notebooks and all this. I didn't find it at that time and ended up finding it weeks later. But I landed up finding another notebook of his that basically I think he used, I call it a journal. You'll hear me refer to it as the journal. But it was really like somewhat of a journal, but then also he had like writing samples in there, some papers he had written for school. He wrote for the school paper at Blessed Trinity, so he had all like article ideas or actual, I'm gonna write like writing articles that he was writing and stuff like that, all in there.
Yep.
So I am looking through this. I'm like, I mean, it was like the holy grail, like honestly, because I mean, I could hear him, I could see him, like you everything, right? I could hear his voice. And there was a paper in there in his chicken scratch handwriting, but it was this paper he had written on blessings. And he was 16 when from the date and everything that he had written this. And it was a great paper. Oh my, like it was, I'm crying, of course, he's talking about his three blessings and how different things can be a blessing. Like you, you know, wake up late for school and but you actually got that extra sleep, so that's a blessing because you probably needed it, or find this, $10 bill in your pocket and, before, oh, you didn't know how you were gonna pay for gas, but now you have whatever, like little things.
Okay.
And then he had his 3 big blessings, which was his girlfriend Blakely and just how she had come into his life when he really needed a friend and she had taught so much to him about himself and how to love and be a good friend and care for people. And then he talked about, his Jeep, which Steve had driven this 2004, I think, black Jeep, and when Max turned 16, the black Jeep went to Max, and he just said, "I just appreciate my parents giving me this, it gives me freedom, I can see my friends, I can, do my things as long as my chores are done," which I thought was cute, he wrote that, like, "My chores are done, my parents, whatever." And then his last thing was Steve and I, and he talks about us and just how
My
we've
god.
given him freedom and how we've loved him and how, taught him like a right from wrong. It was just I mean, right? And you're like, "Oh my god, he actually liked me. Like, this is
Oh,
wonderful." And but then he ends the whole thing, this last paragraph, and I say it in all my presentations. We've used his quote everywhere. It's on the website, but it's God works in funny ways. He does bad things sometimes because in the end they are good. Something bad can happen to you, and it may happen because it will make you better. He does bad to ultimately create good. And I took that. I was crying. I ran to my sister. I was like,
Oh
read this, read what Max wrote, read this. And I said,
my
we have to do something. We have
wow.
to make something good out of Max's death. We have to change this. Like, I mean, I have chills right
Yeah.
now. And that was it.
Yeah,
That was
that's like
my
a secret
moment.
message from him. That's what
Yeah.
that is. Like him
And my
telling
sister
you,
was
"Go
like,
do."
we're going to do something. We're going to start a foundation. Like but it literally started in that moment. And it just started moving. And just as simple as, we made the wristbands, the Fly High Max, Stop the Hazing, Take Care of Each Other wristbands. And originally, Blakely helped me make them. And we were sending them really to friends and family that wanted support. But then Max's friends and stuff started asking for them for their fraternities and their sororities. And we would send them like this little kit of like however many bracelets they wanted. And then it was basically what my sister read at Max's funeral, but just about, you know, it, because of like, think about Max, see something, say something. You have to keep yourselves safe, like this whole. And so kids would go and talk about Max and what happened to him and how this has behavior has to stop and we have to take care of each other and we need to remember Max. And we would get pictures. I mean, they were, you can look all over, Max's Instagram and stuff from way back when, like, these huge groups, holding up the Fly High Max and just sharing again in these stories and then how it changed. And it was amazing. So and again, it just kept expanding. I mean, we went from ordering like, say a couple thousand, not even a couple thousand, like a whatever amounts of wristbands to then it was like I was ordering them and I had kids like my other kids friends coming over and parents so we could batch these up and get them mailed out and sent to people, over those months. I mean, that's honestly probably what was keeping me alive at that point. It was like something to focus on and do and then
And just one step in front of the other instead of like,
yeah,
"How take a shower today."
yeah. And my sister actually started speaking first, which is amazing, like and she's in Miami, and so she started speaking, like, to some high schools there and telling Max's story, and she's like, "Well, I'll do this until you're ready," and then I laid it up it was that May after Max died, and the first time Steve and I ever spoke was at Blessed Trinity to
Oh,
Max,
wow.
I mean, the kids that were 1 year younger than Max, who we knew a million of them, right, obviously, growing up with all of them, and, um, and that was the first time we ever did a presentation, telling Max's story, telling these kids, "You have to watch out for yourselves as you go off to college," and then, like I said, then there it just kept, moving, and I had met other moms of young men and women that had died from hazing, and, Evelyn Piazza, her son Tim, died from hazing the February before Max passed away, and her and I had connected and have a huge connection till this day, like, best friends, lover, sister, um, her and I started presenting together, and then
Okay.
colleges were calling us you know, and then it just like I said, it was this spiral or however, but it just people were asking for it. They wanted it.
Mhm.
They were
Yeah.
coming to us to get us
They're like,
there. And
tell this story so
yes,
people
and they, were
yeah.
wanting to hear it. And I honestly I do think in all the work, all there's so many people that work so hard in the anti-hazing world. And um through all this hard and all this we've done, people are talking about it. Like where people used to not talk about what was going on in those fraternity houses or wherever. I mean,
Like
sports teams, whatever.
society.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like secret society, keep it in the closet, whatever. People are talking about it now and they're
Wow.
reporting on it. And so there is, I wish it was completely gone, but it's not. But kids are stepping in, kids are reporting on it to schools. That's a big thing we've heard from a lot of big major schools across the country is that they're reporting on it more and they're reporting on it early, like in the little stuff, as they like to call it, the
Wow. So
littler
before it
stuff,
gets
not
really
oh,
so
they're forcing them to drink. It's down to like they're having to wear uniforms or they're having to, whatever. Like,
wow.
so that's good because then you can
Because
kinda
you're
get
seeing the
in,
signs.
investigate, and figure out what's going on, and I do realize, like, sometimes these kids don't even realize some of this smaller stuff that they're doing, they don't even think of it as hazing. Like, they're like, "Well, what's the big deal if the new guys have to, scrub the
Yeah,
floor with
exactly.
a brush?"
So,
I don't know, but you know what I mean? Like, they just aren't sometimes thinking of it the same way that, like, no, 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 because that turns into that, which turns into that. And no one should be on the floor scrubbing a floor with a toothbrush or whatever.
exactly. Why? What
Um,
is the point of that?
what
I
is
get
the point? This is not making somebody a better
study.
brother. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like, learn the history, know the Greek alphabet, like, those I get that. I get that. Know the history of your stuff. I
Yes.
don't understand the rest of that at all,
No,
at
I
all.
don't either. I don't.
Like, see, that's exactly what you said. It's just an excuse to be an asshole,
I mean, it
you know?
really, really is. It's just, and I get, and you're like, because it is, it's that 18 to 22-year-old, like, they go off to college, and it's like, why we don't need to act like they just went off to, like, College Island, and they're just having a free for all. Like,
Right.
they
Yeah.
still need a lot of oversight, they still need guidance, they didn't just walk out my door like a super mature kid, like, at all, like, that's that thing that sometimes gets to me when it's like, "Well, we have to let the students decide." I'm like, "Well, no,
Mhm.
they still
Their
need a
brains
lot
are
of
still
guidance."
yes.
Yeah, they still need a lot of guidance, and understanding of some of these things. Because again, it's like, all of a sudden at 18, you're not an adult, like,
No.
just because at 18, you turn midnight and 1
Yeah.
second, believe me, none of mine at 18, much less 20 or 20,
Oh,
are, completely mature adults,
exactly. I
I'm
mean,
55, I'm
literally
not sure I'm a mature adult, so,
yeah. When the science literally says it's like 27 before the brain is fully developed, so
yeah,
you're still a decade away. So,
yes.
yes,
So,
to your point.
it's just that, it's like, kind of like, help them.
Mhm.
You're not helping them by allowing them to continue doing these behaviors or ignoring them, or I hate the phrase, "Oh, it's just boys being boys." No,
Yeah.
it's not. It's
No.
not. It's letting them not have any values, and values for people is what that is. So, again, you need to still be there mentoring them and teaching them to have good values and be good people, stand up for somebody else, stand in for, all that. So it doesn't just end and like, oh, they have it figured out, you
Yeah.
know? I
Yeah.
mean,
They survived,
no,
thank God, some of them. Oh my god,
exactly.
that's so annoying. So how many do you even know, like, how many times you've given that presentation? How many schools? How many
I
people have
honestly,
you
I should, I wish I need to, but hundreds. I mean, we've spoken to hundreds of colleges and universities at this point, and our big expansion has been the last couple of years into high schools, and
uh,
talking to high school seniors is a big focus, but then also, like, I was just at a school to talk to just high school athletes, sophomores, juniors, and sorry, freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, to the athletes. And that was, a very, it's, they need it. They need to
yeah,
because again, sometimes they don't realize some of the things that they are doing is either even a little bit of hazy, or could take a really sharp turn all of a sudden because one person decides, hey, you know what? I know we just made them do that, but now we need to make them do this. This would be funny. This would be hilarious, or whatever. So,
actually brilliant because you see that all the time with sports teams, actually. You see a lot of it, and again, if you go back to, like, all the movies that are out there, all the high school stuff that happens where that same stuff happens and, it's glorified.
yes,
It's like you wanna emulate them. That's why they end up doing it. Like, when you're the senior, you do it to the freshman or the sophomore, you
yes,
know? I love that you're getting into high schools. That's
yeah.
brilliant. So
So,
there's,
yeah,
like, usually
that's been a really, I mean, that's been a very, I guess you would say, fulfilling, thing to do. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy the college kids too. Like, that was really great, I think, after Max passed away too, because I think that was a lot of therapy, like, for
that
myself. I kind of made me feel like I was still in a way with Max in college because, I mean, I looked out in the audience and it was, you know, hundreds of Maxes sitting right there just as young and some naive and whatever, and just like, oh, like ready again, just look at the world,
Yeah.
and the world's my oyster and I can do this. Yeah. And, so that definitely helped a lot. But I do think high schools, I mean, and even, I mean, because it starts in middle school, and it does correlate very much with bullying and those kinds of behaviors. Um, but like I said, people want to try to define the difference between like bullying you do against somebody because you don't like them, but hazing is to someone that you do like and that you want as part of your group. But I have never agreed with that because Max 100% was bullied while he was being hazed. So, and it's true to a lot of people. So seeing that way, I'm like, no, again, you're saying hazer, and it's just it's like a glorified bully,
Right.
you know?
Right. Yeah. It's the same exact thing. It's the same thing. They're trying to pretty it up
Yeah.
and make less than,
Less
but it's
than,
not.
yes. It's not
Mhm.
the same thing. It's different. They have to do this. No, they don't. Like,
They really don't. To
they
your point,
really,
made it
yeah,
through Greek life without ever having to deal with any hazing,
yeah.
and and that
It's yeah,
just
stu
yeah, so stupid. Well, what about your advocacy work? I remember hearing about that or reading an article at some point, and you were fighting the good fight for law, for legislation to get
yeah.
anti.
Oh, yes, besides all the traveling for that stuff, we right away, and I would love to say it was like, "Oh, it was all us." It wasn't, but right after Max died, a lot of politicians in Louisiana, um, Nancy Landry especially, came to us and, you know, because the old hazing law in Louisiana was, if you were found guilty, you got 30 days in jail and $100 fine.
Wow.
Yeah. What what is
Wow.
that? And, and then they'd even found, um, in the law books that in Louisiana that, like, if you had more than I think it was, like, say, 5 chickens in your yard, you could have up to a year in jail and a $500 fine. And it's like, what?
Huh.
So
Yeah.
because you have chickens in your yard, you could have this and this, but you kill somebody from hazing and it's $100 fine or, yeah, 3 days
It's
in jail.
insane.
Yeah. So it was really hard for our DA, Hiller Moore, who's fabulous. He like it was like how to prosecute. How is prosecute? Because I mean, this is, ridiculous. And two of the young men that were involved, they did, get charged with hazing and did spend their 30 days in jail, which was BS. But he landed up the main hazer he charged with negligent homicide, and he was also found guilty. But the big thing was, how do we change this law for any future hazing things? So Nancy Landry was fantastic and, got together with lots of people, but they did the Max Hoover Act and it came into law by that May. It was signed into law that May after Max died. But it, in the short of it, it ranges, hazing from, a misdemeanor up to a felony, depending on the degree of hazing that's happened, is physical and bodily harm happened, the severity of that, or if death has happened. And,
Wow.
it can range, I think it's a $5,000 fine and up to, I think, 5 years in jail. So again, there's more to work with now
Yeah.
with, and like, they've had to use it this last year. A young man named Caleb Wilson was just killed from hazing last January, at Southern University in Baton Rouge. And they are using Max's law, you know,
Wow.
they arrested 5 men,
Mhm.
um, in connection with that death, and, but that's exactly what Hiller needed. So, and they can still get negligent homicide and these other things, but the hazing like, you know what I mean? It gives them that teeth they need,
Yeah.
really put it in there for the degrees of who did what and where. Um, so that's a I hate to say good example, but it's an example of how the laws being strengthened can really help in these situations. So we are working here in Georgia. Right now, we have a decent law in the state of Georgia, but it's not a felony level. And so we're trying to get it up there to a felony level. So it has the degrees, again, to this point.
Yeah.
Did get back in 2021 with Senator Albers, which was great. We were able to get in the transparency piece, which all the schools in Georgia, universities and colleges have to be transparent about their code of conduct violations on their websites for like the
Oh,
previous
wow.
5 years. So that has been a great thing. And several other states also have adopted it. Louisiana has it, Florida State or Florida has it, up in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, where Tim Piazza was from, like but the big thing was we really wanted transparency across the country. And so we then started lobbying federally up at the Capitol with a lot of other parents and organizations for years back and forth to get the Stop Campus Hazing Act put through. And that just went through. Um, President Biden signed it in. It was a nice Christmas present last year of 2024 on Christmas Eve. He signed
Oh,
it. And
wow.
so all
Yeah.
those years of work for everybody and all of our sons,
Yeah.
that law was passed. And so now every school across the country has to have transparency for hazing
Yeah.
incidences that have happened on their schools. Um, there's a bunch of things with it, logs where it's supposed to be with the Cleary Center. There's a wonderful website that another mom who unfortunately lost her son out in Washington, she has put together a website. It's hazinginfo.org that you
Mm.
can go to, and it will tell you. It goes by, states, and then you can go to the school you want, and you can look up the information there if the university has it, and they're constantly updating it, and then, so you'll see if somebody isn't reporting correctly yet, she has it written out there, but again, then call the school, find out what these things are, just be very, I say proactive, like, you just gotta be proactive in finding out what else is going on in any school, in any organization, any sport team, any band, whatever. Find out what their history is before you let your student join any of that. Ask those questions. You have the right to know that information, and you should
I'm
know.
so glad you said that. I literally, so Duncan, my youngest, is 16. He's a junior at Roswell. And, we're looking at schools. And I literally just asked him the other day because one of the schools, his favorite he's looking at is Auburn right now. And I just
Alex went there. Yeah, he loves
Oh
Auburn.
my god. Okay, good. And I said, "Do you think you wanna do Greek life?" But because again, I know nothing. We didn't have Greek life. My kids haven't Gavin did a small one at Charleston, but, and so I literally know nothing. And I wouldn't even think to call and ask them that, but now I will, and I'll put all of this, just anybody listening or watching, I'll put all of these, any helpful websites you wanna send me, I'll put all the links in the
Perfect.
show notes
Yes.
so that, we'll put your foundation, put, that I just wrote it down, but we'll, do all of that because all of this is just knowledge is power, and we as parents don't I never would have thought to call and ask
Mhm.
what their what
And
their
look on
rules.
their websites, and some schools are better than others. Like I said, some will have it. It's just a lot of them you can just go right to Greek life and find the report card or the conduct card or whatever. Some schools kind of hide it, unfortunately. I mean, I personally, it should just be there
Yeah,
readily available so you can find it. So if you can't find it on a website, again, call the school and find out where you can go look for it, or email like the head of Greek life or the dean of students, and just find out and
yeah,
and just see what's gone on. And they, like I said, the schools should all have it. So I'm
awesome.
actually going to Auburn tomorrow, so I will be
You
there.
are?
Yeah,
Oh,
one of the fraternities there is having me come speak to their whole chapter, so I'm gonna go down.
good. It's all good. Okay, let's go back to, well, I love all this. Thank you so much. We'll put all of those links in the show notes when I get them from you because just the handier we can have them, the better it is for everybody. Um, okay, so that's your advocacy. That's, oh, I know what I wanted to talk to you about. First of all, talk to us about the Warrior Moms group you
Yeah,
have.
yes. So,
Yeah.
yes, we have, a group of ladies also, like, after Max had passed away, you get connected, like when you lost your husband and then you started meeting some other women who had lost their husbands, and it kind of same idea. I started meeting, other women, unfortunately, in North Fulton that have lost a child for whatever reason, and we, definitely started talking and texting, um, and then some of the ladies had gotten together, and it was like like, "We should start doing this once a month," and it turned into this Warrior Moms of North Fulton, and we meet once a month on the 3rd Thursday of each month, and it's at somebody's house, or sometimes we go out and do stuff or whatever. And we just come together, and anyone can come. If you know, meet someone that else that is like, anyone's welcome and invited. And it's wonderful. We get together, we have food, we drink wine, we talk about the kids. You walk in and it's kind of like you go back in time a little bit, like, because it's just you're talking, like, so present, like,
Yeah.
Max is and Max, this and that, and you don't ever feel like, not that anyone, makes you feel this way or whatever, but, I think all of us, as time passes, sometimes you're like, "Am I talking about Max still too much?" Or, and it just and you're not. You never are, but
No,
'cause,
but there
right,
is
it's your
that.
child. You wouldn't stop talking about your living child, like, um, but, sometimes we think that, right? And we get in our own heads, and but, it's like there's never too much or too little, too much
Yeah.
share, not enough sharing. It's what, and we all just kind of understand each other. So again, the group has gotten very, very close. 5 years ago, I think it was, some of us had started talking about, like, writing a book, and we did. It was definitely been a work in progress, but, it came out in August, and, it's, Warrior Moms, grieve like a mother, survive like a warrior, and, 14 of us wrote, we each have a chapter basically about our child, and really what the book is about, it's to help other mothers that have lost a child, no matter what stage you're in. I mean, I think we're in all the stages all the time in a lot of ways, but it's hopefully to help someone feel connected to it, and it might not be me, it might be another mom, but they read something in the book that helps them get through a tough time or a bad day. Or I remember, that mom Rae Ann said, try to start doing new things. Maybe I should try to go
Mhm.
out, and, like, I taught myself to knit, and, at one
Yeah.
point, and, I can only knit scarves, but I love it. I sit on the couch, I knit, and I my friends laugh at me like, aren't you ever gonna make anything else?" I'm like, "No, I don't know."
This works for me. It's good.
It
Another
works for
scarf.
me. Again, try different things, whatever, like, or just books that have helped us that we've read. And, I still read, like, those, I love those different ones, but, like, the kind of like the daily, I guess, devotionals, or what, not always devotionals, but just and it's just, whatever you read for that day. And you're like, "Wow,
Yeah.
that, like, I connected with that today for whatever reason or not," or, "Oh my god, I can't believe I just read that because I've been feeling that lately." So, I always like those. Those kind of are good for me to start my day. Like, I have different ones I like. So, anyway, but just different things. And so, again, 14 of us came together and did it. There's 4 more moms that weren't quite ready to do, like, a big one, but they have a whole little thing for their sweet little nuggets. And, it was just a labor of love. We had, writing retreats with each other, and, you know, just all kinds of things to make it happen. And it did. It's been very exciting. Um, we do book signings, where
So
many of us that can be there are there to sign books for people. I had a really fun one recently at Deep Roots, and in
mhm.
Roswell, which is always
Yep.
fun. I mean, drinking
Always
wine
fun.
and
Sign
books
'em.
is never a problem. So next
Right.
month we're doing one up at Poe and Company in Milton. So again, it's just been, I think, for everybody too, again, therapeutic for each one of us, and helps us keep putting that step forward, and heal a little bit more. You'll never be fully healed, but, you're doing something good. And I will tell you, Pam, that I did just finish my own book.
Yay.
And that, yes, we are doing the final touches on
My
that.
god,
So
that's
hopefully by
huge.
this later this summer, it will be out. So,
Yay. Oh my god.
again, it's obviously about Max, but a lot about, it's really about being a mom who had this happen,
Mhm.
the worst thing that could ever happen to somebody. And, how I got through, but really how I really rediscovered who I was as a person. And I'm not the same person I was before. I never will be. But some of that's not so bad. I actually like the person I am
Mhm.
now. And Max, it's because of Max. It's that more caring, more um even more protective. I've always been very protective of
Yeah.
people and my kids and stuff, but it just I don't know. It's something's different, and like just wanting to help and change things that shouldn't be there in the first place, and just why I do it, how I do it, that kind of thing. So I'm excited about that too. So that'll be coming out later this year. So that was another labor of love that has been going on. I have a great writing coach with me and publisher that's helped me the whole way. So I just love them. So yeah, so I'm excited about that too.
It's
So
a great feeling when it's, like, done, but I was actually thinking when you were just talking because, um you're not the same. I'm not the same. You go through a deep loss, a deep grief, and living with grief and hopefully in as healthy a way as you can just by working through things. Um I am definitely not the same just with John dying and there are a lot of things I really like about myself now that I say the growth through the grief, right?
yeah,
And there's, a lot of good things that have happened, because of that growth.
yes.
And I get asked this all the time. I get asked, "What do you think John thinks about all the things you're doing? So what do you think Max thinks about all the things you're doing?"
He thinks I'm crazy. I think he's up there like I think he's up there and he's like, "Well, what are you doing?" But then I think he's up there and he's honestly, I've said this before. I think he's up there and he's like, all of this for me, like,
Oh, yeah,
like I don't think he would ever just think anyone would do like he did. I mean, he's to me a humble guy in a way. Like, so I just think
mhm,
it like, wow, you have changed your whole life. I guess like to fight for him to carry on his legacy. Like you did all this for me. Like I just
yeah,
think that's how he would like just like, wow, like, and you're
yeah,
crazy. But
and
knew
crazy.
that. Yeah, though. He knew that. And he
Yeah.
knew I was a mama bear. I think he's really like, wow, you really,
Like,
really
you really are a mama bear.
yeah. So yeah, I think I mean I do think he's proud. I think he's, you know,
Yeah,
I
I'm
do think he's
sure.
smiling there. I think and I always can say too, I one thing I've always felt since even though he died to me in such a horrible way, a humiliating way, um, a disgusting way, honestly.
Just
Um,
yeah,
but I do know he's in a better place. He is happy. Like I feel that all the time. I felt that from him since the beginning, like that he's wanted me to know that he's okay, and he wants me to be okay. Like I've always felt that. And I think sometimes he's like, when I do get angry and mad, like I get that feeling for like he's like, just like sometimes like let it go. Like just like live
yeah,
your life. Be happy. I'm happy. Like I'm good. I'm waiting for you. I'm here, So, I do feel that. And that helps a lot too, right? That I think
yeah,
he wants me to move past it. Like,
yeah, like trying
don't
to
think
infuse
about that bad part of it. And I do try not to. Like I do try to just not think about that time and that everything Max was before that and
yeah,
everything he has done after that, like that one night does not define my son at all. Like,
1000%,
yeah,
1000%.
I think everything that happened before and everything that's happened after that is who and what my son embodied,
When
in a lot
I
of ways. And,
absolutely, totally
people really did adore him.
mhm.
He's a good he was a good guy, you know?
Well, I mean, if he was an asshole, people wouldn't be so inclined to listen to his story, you know?
That's true. I know you're absolutely right. Like, you're right. I mean, it's true. I mean, if he was a jerk and people didn't like him, I mean, he would not have had the effect he had on a group of guys he only knew for a month, for 29 days, and like his other like his friends in the pledge class. I mean, it completely changed a lot of their lives, and they went through some of them went through some really, really rough times, but have come out, and they every one of them has told me, like, "I'm gonna live every day for Max." Like, I wanna make things better, Like, and again, if those guys can do it and they were there, it's like, I think back,
Right.
I was like, I can keep doing what I'm doing too and try to make this better too. And, it's an uphill battle, but, it's worth it because again, like I just go back to, if I saves one person's life, then I'll never, like, that's all that matters is that somebody's
Yeah.
doing something right, you know?
Well, and for a fact, just with Alex, there's a life saved with that story you told. So multiply that by, I don't know, thousands probably,
Yeah.
thousands. So all the Alexes that see that happening, that now stop and take action
Yeah.
and, see something, say something, there's no chance it hasn't impacted thousands of people.
Well,
There's
and
no
it's
chance.
funny, I even said to Alex when he came to me and told me about the next morning, he was like telling me what happened. And I remember I looked at it, I was like, well, like, what made you do all that? Like, I don't like, I remember saying, why don't you call 911? But I go, "Well," and he goes, Mom, this is all we have been telling people to do since Max died. It was
I'm
the right thing to do. Like, yeah, like it was the right thing to do. I wanted someone to do that for Max. Like,
Mhm.
so I had to do it for this guy. Like, I wasn't going to sit there and be like, oh, just sleep it off, buddy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
he's like taking
amazing.
action. So,
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And he's been sitting on your shoulder throughout this whole, episode, but, if you, I don't know, I wanna make sure everybody can see his face. I mean, you can see him.
okay,
I love the picture of the 3 kids when they're little, but yeah, bring him on over.
I got stuck on my thing here. Hold on. This is one of his, yes, senior pictures. There's old
Oh,
Max
there he is. Oh, he's so cute. Oh my god.
looking all
Yep,
mature.
being all mature, love it.
His signature glasses,
I
which he
love those
wore all the
glasses.
time. I mean, he wore them. It was literally his signature. Everybody, you know, the glasses was a big thing. Um, yeah, sweet Max.
Well, I've really, really, really loved this conversation. Um, and just getting to know Max better and to know you better. And is there anything else you can think of that you'd like people to know or that we didn't cover?
Um, no, I mean, honestly, if anyone ever has questions or is worried about something, I always say people reach out to me if you don't know who to reach out to. I've helped many parents and students navigate situations or who to talk to, or I've reached out on their behalf so they didn't have to do it. But again, if you know something's going on in any organization, please report on it. Tell whoever all the facts that you know so that they can investigate and get in there and take care of situations before something bad happened. Because I mean, I have a lot of little like, if it's not if something's bad's going to happen, if you're hazing, it's just when,
Yeah.
and Max's death, I say Max's death was not an accident because hazing is not an accident. It is an intentional act against another person. And again, nobody knows how far it'll ever go or who's going to take it that too far or one bad decision's going to be made or one whatever. And again, somebody could be, seriously harmed or dead from that. So, it's really just Lily, my daughter, said one time she went with me to a meeting at a university, and at the end, like they were like, "Oh, Lily, what do you think?" She was probably like in eighth or ninth grade, and she was like, "Honestly, I feel like this is really simple. Like everybody just needs to live by the golden rule: treat people how you want to be treated."
Couldn't get more simple than that.
I was like, "Uh, yes, out of the babe's mouth, but
Here's
that's
what you
all
can
it is. Yeah, that's all it is. Like,
Mhm.
and nobody wants to be treated the way they're treated when they're being hazed. Nobody. I
No.
mean,
Again, there's nothing that justifies it and nothing that makes it make sense. Nothing. Nothing.
yeah,
None of
exactly.
it. Yeah.
So,
Well,
so yeah,
if
just
if
be
somebody
safe.
wanted to, come get you to speak, at their school or wherever. We'll put
Yeah,
that in show notes.
just,
Where would
we have Max's website, I know you'll put that on there, but it's just maxgruberfoundation.com. Um, you can reach out through the website right there, there's a connecting, just fill in your name and your email and a note to me, and I'll get it about, scheduling, or right there, you can find my email, my direct email, and you can just email me directly. Um, like I said, with the high schools, with the foundation, the big thing I know is a lot of high schools don't have funding for this kind of thing. So, um, I don't charge high schools at all. If a high school wants to give a donation, that's great, but we cover all that ourselves, and we do a program. Also, we do a lot of partnering with Phi Delta Theta, which was Max's fraternity, which has done a lot of changes and a lot of they're very what's not thinking of the right word. They're advocating a lot for all of this change and for the hazing to end and keeping guys accountable in their fraternity. And we have come together to make a one of the high school programs we do, either if I do it myself or we can do one with a local Phi Delta chapter. So it's a peer to peer.
Yeah.
So I'll tell Max's story, but then the members of Phi Delta will
Mhm.
basically do kind of like the presentation part and talk more one on one about like their experience and
Wow.
what's gone on and what to watch out for and these things. But again, it's that, a couple, the guys in college talking to the younger,
Yeah.
adults. So
I love
anyway,
I
that's a very effective one too that we've been using. And it's really, again, been great. We're actually traveling all like I'm going to be in Dallas this week doing a Find Out one, and we're going to be in Arkansas and definitely several around here in North Fulton and then Miami. So it's really expanding and I'm really happy about it that again that we're getting out there more and more. It's harder to get into the high schools, but
Yeah.
now that it's happening, it's really because then high school is they're telling their other high schools like you
Yeah.
really need to get this program in there. So that's been great. So I think everybody that keeps supporting us and reaching out and all that good stuff too. So yeah. And even
That's amazing.
colleges, if, kids reach out for us to come to their schools and we plan that and all that good stuff. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. And
I
more
mean,
if you want more information too, I have stuff on our website, but the Gordy Center, is a great foundation. Hazing Prevention Network is awesome. They have things for parents, for students, for coaches, also stophazing.org, several different, organizations that we work with and partner with, just to, keep this message going and to educate and teach and change laws and do all kinds of things. So, we just want to keep protecting
mhm.
the next generation and these kids
Yeah.
that, keep coming in.
And
So
the next
definitely look into their websites and, contact them if you have questions or need information. You know, or me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely include all of that because it's so important and just the easier people have access to the resources, the more impactful it'll be. So I'll definitely put all of that stuff in all the
Yeah.
show notes. So
Great.
I'll follow up with you and make sure I got them all right. But
Perfect.
well, thank you so, so, so much for taking the time, sharing this really, really, really important topic. But more importantly, sharing Max with us. And just, he's adorable and he's changing lives every day through you. And again, you're just impressive and your strength and grace and resilience and badassery is just,
You're
I
far
mean,
too kind, but thank you
no,
so much. I
I
think
mean,
we need to go out for a glass of wine now.
I agree. I
I
agree. Deep roots.
I
We'll
think
meet at, we'll
yes,
meet at deep roots.
roots. Oh, yeah, 100%. Yes. We'll have to
Absolutely.
plan that for sure.
For sure. Well, thank you again. I know people are just going to love hearing from you and just continue doing the amazing work that you do. And thank you all for listening. Thank you for tuning in and just, keeping the love stories alive, keeping their names out there and their stories and just getting to know all of the people that we love so much. So, take care of yourselves, take care of your heart and just stay tuned for the next ones. But thank y'all so much.